everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video, I'm going to be trying out the Modelones Acrylic System. So this was my very first time using the products. This is what they sent me, and yeah, I'm going to share a little design using a few of the products. So we have the Modelones monomer. It's their slow setting monomer, which was a little different for me because I am used to using a faster setting monomer, but I did get on okay with it. They also sent me a size 12 acrylic brush. Now, I didn't end up actually using this brush in the video, but I just thought I would show you guys how to prep your brush. So you really need to run it and flick it between your fingers just to remove the glue that holds the bristles in place for transit. So take a little bit longer than what I'm doing here, just to really make sure you get all of that gummy gel out that holds the bristles together. It's a lot easier if you do it under a light because you can then see when all those particles have gone. Now, I didn't use the brush in this particular video because although it says it's the size 12, to me it was a lot smaller than the size 12 brush that I'm used to using. I'm so used to using a larger brush. But let's take a look at the colours. So we have number 12, which is a sheer lilac colour. Then we have number 23, which is an opal style glitter. Then we have number 20, which is a really pretty gold holographic glitter. Then we have number 24, which this one is a silver glitter. And then we have number 9, which is a blue acrylic colour. So I'm going to be using 3 of these in the video today, and I will have another video coming up soon where I will use the other 2 colours. So do keep an eye out for that. Now I'm working on my Glamerliz practice hand. I have already applied my tips and a thin clear base. So we're jumping straight into the design, and I'm coming in with that number 9 acrylic powder, and it's a really pastel or a medium coloured blue. It's a bit darker than a pastel blue, but it does look slightly darker on camera than what it does in real life. In real life, it does look a little bit more on the pastel light blue side. Now, this was my very first time using this acrylic system. So this was the very first bead of acrylic that I picked up. Now, with any system, they all work slightly differently. So sometimes when you're picking up a new acrylic system, it can take a little bit getting used to because you've got to get used to the ratio and the way the products work. So I did struggle a little bit, but I did at the same time find it quite an easy system to work with, to be honest. So I've picked up my first bead of acrylic and I'm walking it down the nail. Then I've come in with my second bead and I'm doing exactly the same, but I'm going to push this bead of acrylic off to one side because I'm going to do a bit of a cutout design. So I just want it to come across the nail. Now, because I'm working with the slow setting monomer, I did find this part quite tricky. I'm used to working with a faster setting monomer, which means you don't get as much playtime because the acrylic starts setting. Now, a slower setting monomer is perfect for a beginner nail tech because it gives you that little bit more playtime. But for me, it was a little bit tricky because I haven't worked with a slower setting monomer in a while. So I'm having to wait for that acrylic to set up a little bit so that I can use my brush to carve out my line. But as you can see, I'm just using my brush to try and get a nice crisp line. Now, for the particular design I'm doing today, I knew I was going to be coming in over this line with some crystals, so I didn't need it to be super crisp. But if you did want it to be crisp, you can just come in and file this line once it's set before you apply your next acrylic colour. Now, I did come in over the top with another bead of the blue just because I wanted it to look a little bit more opaque, and I noticed it looked a little patchy up at the cuticle area. But I have been able to work quite thin with the products because I'm going to fully encapsulate this now anyway. Now, one thing I did want to say, this blue colour was quite pigmented, which made it great because I could work with it in a fairly thin layer of product, which is great when you're doing any acrylic design work and you want to encapsulate the nail. It's nice if your colours are quite pigmented because then you don't have to build up too much thickness with the colour. Now, on the very tip of the nail, I'm coming in to begin with the number 23 acrylic powder, and as you can see, it's a clear acrylic with a opal iridescent glitter running through it. And then over the top of that, I'm coming in with the number 20 acrylic powder. And this is the one where it's a fine gold holographic glitter. And I wanted to combine these two together just so that the set would flow if I was using both of the glitters. And I think they worked quite well combined together, to be honest. Now I'm going to leave that to set and I will fully encapsulate that nail. So for now I've moved on to the middle finger. Now on the middle finger I wanted to do a full nail of the number 23 just so I could really see what the glitter was like and how it would apply. Now it applied so easy. This particular glitter acrylic was really easy to work with. As you can see, I pick my bead up, it stays where I place it, it's not running all over the nail. And then I'm able to use the tip of my brush to pat it up into place around the cuticle area, and then I'm just pulling it down. Now I'm working quite thin with it because it's a glitter acrylic, it will need to be encapsulated, so I don't want to build up too much bulk. But I am just going to come in with another couple of small beads of the glitter acrylic just to build up the coverage a little bit because I haven't put any coloured acrylic down underneath. We're just working on top of a clear acrylic. But as you can see, it blends into the previous beads effortlessly. I'm having to do minimal work and the acrylic is going where I want it to go, which is really lovely because it makes it that little bit easier to work with. Now I'm going to move on to the ring finger and I'm coming in with that gorgeous blue colour again, tapping it up into place around the cuticle, and then I'm just pulling this colour down the nail. Now once it had come to applying this bead, I'd kind of got into using the products, you know, I'd picked up how well they work and the ratio and things like that, so it slowly started becoming even easier to use. Now I'm just going to come in with another bead just to build up that colour a little bit more and to bring the colour further down the nail, and as you can see it blends out and pulls down the nail absolutely beautifully. Now I have only used a couple of the colours, but I found them really lovely to work with. The only downside for me was that slower setting monomer. I'm just used to a faster setting monomer, but I do believe that Model Ones have one on offer. So if you are a more experienced nail tech, I would recommend opting to try the faster setting monomer. Now here I picked up a bead of the number 20 glitter acrylic again, but this time I picked it up a little bit too dry. So when I placed it down on the nail, you could see it was just, the bead was too dry. So what I did is I popped my brush back into the monomer. I'm just feeding some more monomer into that glitter acrylic mix. And then I'm just going to fade it back because we're going to do a simple glitter fade on this nail. And I really loved how pretty this glitter looked over that blue acrylic. They really went well together. I believe this particular kit is called the Cinderella Kit. I will double check, but I have got a link for it, which I will leave in the description box below in case you guys want to purchase it. And I'm really loving the glitter acrylics. Glitter acrylics are not something I tend to sway towards too often because I have so many glitters in my collection. But I'm really loving these ones, especially the number 23, which is that opal iridescent effect one. I really think I'm going to get a lot of use out of that one. Now on the little finger, I wanted to do a full nail of the blue. So I've come in, I've placed my bead down. As you can see, I'm able to pat it side to side and then paint it down the nail just to get a nice thin layer of colour. Then I'm working my way up the nail with my beads of acrylic until that entire nail is covered. I'm making sure to come down the sidewalls with my brush to keep the product nice and neat. Now I did at times find that the product was sticking to my brush a little bit, and I think that's because my ratio was a little bit too wet. As I said, when you're working with a new product, you do need to play around with it a little bit just to pick up the ratio between the acrylic powders and the monomer. Now this colour applied absolutely beautifully. As you can see, there's no patchiness, there's no marbling between the colours, the pigment, sorry, and the acrylic. It just went on like an absolute dream. I'm just making sure that it's all nice and smooth and even, just because then it makes your encapsulation layer and your filing go on a lot neater. I did decide that I wanted to build up the colour ever so slightly down in that cuticle area, so I popped a small bead down there. Now this is what the design looked like once I had finished applying all of those colours. I then went off camera, capped them all in clear acrylic and did all of the filing, and I decided the set looked a little bit simple, so I wanted to come in and add some on top nail art. So on the little finger, I'm going to add some water decals. These particular ones are from Miss Lucy's, and I will leave a link in the description box below. All of the products I use are always listed below, so do check the description box out. Now, I really felt as though these water decals complemented that blue acrylic perfectly. Ideally, these kind of water decals need to be used over a white base to really pop, but I loved how these looked over the blue base. I think it just added a little something extra to the set and gave it a little bit more of a spring vibe. Now, jumping back to the Modelones Acrylic System, this was my very first time using it, and my first impressions are that it's a pretty good acrylic system. It's very reasonably priced, and I think it'd be a great product if you were just starting out in nails. It was fairly easy to work with, and the glitter acrylics especially were really easy to work with. Now, I haven't tried many colours, like I said. I do still have 2 colours out of this collection to try, so I will try and get another video up on my channel using those, just so I can give you guys a sort of full review of the products. But what I'm seeing and what I've tried so far, I was really impressed with. Now on to the pointer finger, like I said, across that line I wanted to add some crystals. So I'm coming in with a rubber top coat. Now I applied way too much at this point, so I'm just brushing some of it off, just so that there's a nice thin layer that I can pop my crystals down into. And then I have some crystals ready. I'm not going to be doing anything too fancy, but I'm just going to place those crystals down into my wet top coat. And then once I'm happy with how they're all placed, I will pop this in to cure for 60 seconds. Now, I really hope you guys all enjoyed watching. I like using and trying new systems and new products, so it was really fab to get the opportunity from Modelones to try their acrylics, so a huge thank you to them. But I hope it helps you guys see what their products work like. You have seen me work with various other brands, so it kind of gives you a little insight on how they compare to those. But like I said, I think they're a fab acrylic for beginners as well as experienced nail techs. They do have lots of different colours on their site to choose from, so I would highly recommend taking a little look. Now, if you have tried the Modelones acrylic system yourself, please do pop me a comment below and let me know what you guys thought of it. And if you enjoyed this video, please give the video a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would absolutely love it if you did. So I did pop that now into cure so that those crystals were set in place, and then I'm going to come in and top coat the rest of the nails. Now when it comes to top coating this one, you can really see how pretty and sparkly this glitter looks. Now I used it here on its own just to see, you know, just to kind of swatch it to see what it would look like. But I reckon this would look very pretty over a light pink or a white base. I love these iridescent style glitters because they're really versatile and you can use them over any colour and it gives off a slightly different effect. But they are one of my favourite style glitters because they are just super pretty. Even on its own here, once it has been top coated and cured, I leave a little clip of what the finished result looks like, and you can really see just how pretty of a glitter it is. The same goes for the gold one. I did really like that one as well, especially teamed up with the blue. It kind of complemented it really well. Now when it comes to top coating over my water decals, I like to just float that top coat on. This is a rubber top coat, so it's slightly thicker, so it's perfect for encapsulating your nail art. But I do still like to just float it on, move it around those water decals before popping it into cure, because then it really sets them in place. Now once I have finished applying these, I'm going to cure these in my LED lamp for 60 seconds. And this, guys, was the finished result. Now I will hopefully have some more videos up using the Modelones acrylics soon, so do keep an eye out for those. Thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.